Guys, be honest. Be honest, you can tell me. Have you ever stolen anything from a self checkout? I know I haven't, because that would be admitting to a crime on the internet with my whole fit. Come on, man. Come on. Okay. However, a lot of people do, and it's causing a problem. Self checkouts were supposed to be the future, right? It was supposed to be essentially AI taking jobs, saving these companies money, but it's doing the opposite. It's costing them tens of millions, reportedly hundreds of millions a year. And I'm not gonna come out here and lie. I don't care. Okay, in terms of, I don't care about these big companies losing money. These companies are inherently evil and selfish, and all they care about is profit. They care about nothing else but the bottom line. If I see someone stealing from a Target, a Walmart, a Lidl, whatever it is, as far as I'm concerned. However, this is where the problem comes into play. Because these companies are inherently selfish, there could be a loop. Let me explain. Walmart, Target, they're losing tens of millions, right? Well, how do they get that money back? Well, now they may have to increase prices, right? Oh, we're losing how much? Well, we might have to start cutting costs. A couple people might have to get fired. Yeah. So it can come back to bite people in the ass.
Okay.
No, I did that. It's right there. So you just
Okay.
added 287 to my order.
And
I ain't stealing anything. This is ridiculous.
the turkey fries, the turkey.
Man, I will not ever shop here again.
That's what I'm saying. If you are going to allow untrained people to use the software, and then someone is going to have to come in here and fix their mistakes when there might not even be any mistakes to fix, why not just pay these people to man a register? This seems like a horrible, horrible idea if you are just going to jump in and do it anyway. It makes the customers feel accused of doing things that they didn't do. Why not just eliminate this entire problem altogether and just go back to regular registers and pay enough cashiers to man?
Well, obviously the answer is greed, but also like, get a life, man. Damn, I hate when these people be taking their job too seriously, man. Honestly. Come on. Like, you gotta go through the whole receipt, gotta go through the whole thing to see if I stole like one thing. Like, come on, man. Is it that deep?
So sometimes something is called the future, but then it doesn't play out how like people expect, so we have to go back to the past. And that's exactly what's happening with this right here. Self-checkout at Walmart, which was introduced in the 2000s and really ramped up in the 2010s, where was called the future of the company, where they got rid of most cashiers, but now they're phasing it out, and here's why. Diving into this, we got to look at the numbers behind cashiers, because before Walmart introduced self-checkout throughout their stores, they'd have around 9 lanes open at the stores, which in 2026 labor prices would mean $18.25 an hour, which would come to $1,975 a day in expenses, or nearly $720,000 a year just to pay cashiers. Which might sound like a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not, because the average Walmart makes $100 million a year, meaning they make enough money to pay the cashiers for the entire year every 63 hours. But still, while that's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, Walmart is a relatively low profit margin business where they only make about a 2.5% profit on every dollar of revenue they take in. And also at the same time, there were some issues with lines where they were afraid it was costing them customers, so they wanted to look out for other options. Still, Walmart was actually at first pretty reluctant to get into the self-checkout game because it failed big time when it was first introduced in 1986 at Kroger, where they reported a lot of issues with the touchscreens because touch technology was new, and also a lot of people didn't like the idea of paying cash into a machine. It changed heavily with the rise of credit and debit cards, where in the year 1986 it was reported that only about
I did not know that. They had it in 1986? Wow. I need to talk to my mom about that.
6% of payments in retail were done through credit and debit, but then that changed where by 2002, it's officially over 50%. And now in 2018, 70% of all payments are done through credit and debit versus cash. So because of that, as well as touchscreen and camera technology improving, Walmart started to embrace self-checkout a lot more, where they first introduced it in 2002 without much success. But by the 2010s, it gets really big, where it's now making up 65% of all their sales. But over the years, as Walmart's gotten more and more into self-checkout, they realized there's actually a lot of problems with the business, with the first one being the decline in impulse purchases, where Walmart actually makes a lot of money with people waiting at the register, so they'll grab some sort of snack food they otherwise wouldn't when they're doing self-checkout. And this can actually pay up big time, where it's reported Walmart does over $10 million a year in sales of these for every single Walmart. Meaning there's actually more money to be made off the impulse purchases than paying the actual cashiers. At the same time, there's also some fights with local governments, with one big example being this woman in particular, Megan Cotter, as a state representative out of Rhode Island, where she actually passed a law that required it so that for every 3 self-checkout machines, there's to be 1 register available. And the claim she made was from the Americans with Disabilities Act, saying this is bad for seniors, bad for the blind, and bad for people who are disabled, where too many people were going into a Walmart with disabilities and they didn't have anyone to take care of them. And finally, there's the big one, theft, where Walmart hasn't actually revealed how much has been stolen the last few years, but the last report came in 2023, where they came out saying $6.8 billion of products were stolen every single year, and also at the same time, people going through self-checkout machines had a 70% higher likelihood of stealing. And that itself has led to a lot of bad press, because Walmart has removed self-checkout in a lot of their stores in Philadelphia, New Mexico, and also St. Louis, Missouri, but it's always in areas that are heavily minority, so because of that, people are saying Walmart's just racist and profiling them. Self-checkout is definitely not done. Walmart has been phasing it out of more of their stores and bringing back cashiers while they look for other options like RFID chips.
70% is absolutely insane. I'll be real. It's almost like people's morals are situational. You know? If you can get away with it, would you do it? There's a lot of, the little things people would.
$100 billion. That's how much self-checkouts have actually lost annually. They say it's 16 times the amount than a traditional cashier. So when stores took this on, all these technology companies were like, listen, you can replace employees. Employees don't have to work anymore, and these machines can run 24 hours a day. But one thing they didn't anticipate, $100 billion lost annually by people stealing items. They call it shrink in retail. But what do you think of that number? Do you guys typically go to self-checkout, or do you typically look for someone who's a cashier? So 16 times might not sound like a lot, but these companies that are doing millions, hundreds of millions of dollars a year, that's how much they're losing. So leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think self-checkout is going to be a thing in the future?
This society has fully seen the rise and fall of self-checkouts. I work at Target.
I do wonder, is that for like all the companies? It has to be, right? That 100 million. Because I'm just Googling, what is Walmart's revenue? 700 billion last year. So if they're losing 100, they're losing 1/7 of their profit. Ooh, that is not good. That is not good. It makes sense. It makes sense they're doing what they're doing. At that point, you might as well just pay the employees.
This society has fully seen the rise and fall of self-checkouts. I work at Target, and if you've been seeing these at your local Target, I'm gonna tell you why. So company-wide, they have gotten so many complaints about self-checkouts that they're actually implementing a new rule/thing at Target. Honestly, I think it's a little inconvenient, but that's my opinion. Overall, they're just trying to get more people going through checkers instead of self-checkouts. One, because of theft and stuff they've said, also because of customer preferences. At our store, we're at least trying to do a 2-to-1 ratio. If we have one cashier, we can have 2 self-checkouts out. And I feel like we should at least still have that one person checking out, but then all of the self-checkouts out, because then people are literally waiting in line to self-checkout while they could be just self-checkouting, because all of that stuff, just at least have all of them open and then have more options to have people check out with a person or employee. So I really didn't see a huge implementation on it the past couple months, but like now I feel like it's getting really big. So let me know if you've seen this at your local Targets, because we are literally, like I said, seeing the downfall of self-checkouts right now, which is, I really didn't think it would be a thing. And honestly, at our store and at some stores, they might start getting rid of self-checkouts, which is crazy to me, because like I thought it was the big hype and it would never downfall, honestly.
Basically, everybody on Earth is stealing from self-checkouts, and that happens in two ways. One way is hilarious on purpose master thieves. This Australian person printed homemade barcodes for packet ramen and stuck that on steaks and appliances. There also used to be an entire subreddit trading tips on how to steal from self-checkout with moves like the banana trick, which is where you take an expensive item, ring it up by its weight, and punch in the weight of something cheap like a banana. However, almost all theft from self-checkout is not theft on purpose. It is the accidental, oopsie kind. We're tired, we're busy, we easily forget or miss a scan. And that theft adds up. One study of a store in Leicester found that they lost more than 4% of all their earnings just at self-checkouts, almost entirely due to accidents. But stores keep installing self-checkouts because they'd rather turn you into this cartoon character than pay a cashier.
We've seen what's happening in Walmart in America. So they're doing a thing called Walmart Plus. It's $98 a year, and you now need that to use the self-service checkout. And they're getting rid of some of the self-service checkout because apparently big supermarkets have figured out that the reason they put self-service checkouts in was to save money on labour force, because they were like, well, we can get rid of members of staff. But it's actually costing them more than it's saving them because so many people are stealing. So
This can't be real. I've got to do a Google search on this. I feel like this video was a while ago as well. So it's saying that you don't need Walmart Plus to use self-checkout. And that idea, in my opinion, was inherently stupid, because you got a lot of nerve thinking that I would pay you to come and shop at your bullshit place. Like, you got a lot of nerve. A lot of nerve. Don't you dare. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments. When greed backfires, man. They thought they were going to be able to cut costs and all that. Ended up losing money.
This liquor got me in my zone. Now I'm blowing up your phone. Blowing weed, smoking the ozone. I just can't let this go. This liquor got me in my zone. Now I'm blowing up your phone.